Wait a second. So you know what's going to happen is that face that I just made, that's going to be the thumbnail for today's chat, which is being recorded. My name is Laura. I am director here at Wilson Public Library, and I'm so excited to have Amy and Justin Hoehner from Camp Comeca, actually Comeca Camp and Retreat Center. I'm going to get that wrong. Growing up, we went out to Camp Comeca, that's what we called it.
It'll forever be called Camp Comeca.
Yes, but you have lots of fun, exciting things coming up, so we're so glad that you're here to chat with us about all things Comeca.
Yeah, well, like you said, my name is Justin, and this is my wife, Amy. We've been in camp ministry, I counted this morning, and this will be my 15th summer coming up, and so it's definitely a career thing for us, and our hope is to keep continuing to build Comeca to where it can be, 30, 40 years here. And so that's really exciting.
How long has Camp Comeca been around?
1950.
1950.
Was the first summer that they had camp.
So we're coming up on 75?
Yes.
Is that so exciting?
That's very exciting.
And Comeca originally stood for Cozad Methodist Camp. And then in 1952, I believe, the Methodist Conference took over, and they changed it to Conference Methodist Camp. And then jump way ahead to 2019. I can get more into that story as we get to it. Cozad camping ministry took over the camp, and since we're not a Methodist denomination anymore, I reached out to two people, the son of the first camp director and the daughter of the pastor who dreamt up Adrian Edgar Camp Comeca, and asked them if it was okay if we went by Christ over me camp, and they loved it. And so we don't really tell people that. It's just it's
Christ over me.
Yeah, and it's not anything legal. It's just if anybody asks.
That's what it stands for since Methodist came out.
Yeah, yep, and
I think that's good to know, because
yeah.
I bet you nobody knows that the Methodist church isn't really, I don't want to say not involved, because I'm sure they still are involved.
Very much. It's just not involved at the conference level anymore. And, in the purchasing agreement, Methodist was one of the things that we had to take off all of our buildings, and we had to remove the flaming cross, and so that includes the name. And so that was just part of it. But yeah, camp's been around for a long time, and it started off as a very grassroots camp, and there's a lot of people in the community that have tons of stories that we love to hear, and we love learning about them. And then in the early 2000s, it kind of took a dip, and there were things that were just really, really difficult. And we had a lot of different directors come in. And then in 2017, Amy and I showed up, and we've been there for about 8 years, or this will be our 8th summer, which is cool. And
Time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so we've been rebuilding camp to its former glory, and now we're to the point where we've increased the camper numbers from 1,100 guests to almost 5,000 this past year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We have it
So 5,000 in 2023, or already registered for 2024?
in 2023.
Okay.
And so we should surpass 5,000 this next year.
And those are guests throughout the whole year. So lots of people think Camp Comeca, they think summer camp, which we do. Like, we have a core summer camp program, but we're serving guests all year long.
Yeah, because you had a wellness retreat out there over 8 days last year, and that was well attended, I heard.
Yeah.
There was a youth group last weekend. We have like quilters and family reunions and businesses and.
Do you have weddings out there?
Yeah.
A little bit. The weddings aren't our main thing is bringing people to Christ. Our mission is providing a place where all people can experience Christ, and weddings are great for that, but retreats are better.
Okay.
And so if we can have a guest group come in and all weekend long, they're diving into scripture and learning more about him, and then walk away just filled with the Spirit, that's what we're looking for. And we love weddings, but they're also typically not repeat guests, which is the
A
hope.
good thing.
That's the hope, yes.
And so it's an entire different market, and we do it occasionally.
I don't like word of mouth though.
Yeah,
Like
we don't
Yeah,
market
but I mean,
much.
that's just such a great boon, economic boon for Cozad if you're bringing in that many people.
Oh yeah, and I'm actually working with Scott Foster. He's on our board, and he runs Dawson Area Development right now, and trying to figure out how to explain what Comeca brings to the community outside of our own little thing, you know, gas station and getting people.
Restaurants.
We talked to Tammy, and she hears about all these people that come to Rustic and Red because they're out at Camp Comeca, and we have so many quilting retreats now. I think we have 5
I was gonna say,
quilting
Julie's
retreats.
a pretty
Julie
good
loves it.
person out there.
Yeah, and so of course we send people into Julie as well, and she's been bringing a retreat out there for
years.
probably 20, 30 years. But yeah, so we do about everything, but yeah, our whole ministry revolves around providing a place where people can experience Christ. So we want to grow the kingdom immensely. And during summers, we divide our year into the summer months and non-summer months, because it's about 50-50 the amount of guests that come out during that period. And then during the summer months, specifically the month of July is when we do our own programs, where we train our own staff. We do everything from food, lodging, activities. We stay with them in the cabins 24/7. We call it controlled chaos, because the kids think it's just chaos and they can do whatever they want, but everything is controlled to the very smallest of detail, which creates this really cool environment where these kids walk away just desperately falling in love with their counselor because they're the coolest thing in the world, and then the counselor just teaches them about Jesus and makes
How
that
many
connection.
people do you employ? Especially like the summer months versus the rest of the year.
At max time of year, we have around 40 people on site. Year round, it's 10 to 15, but each year it's grown by 10.
I know 1 year, I don't want to say last year, 1 year you had some people from out of the country.
Yeah.
Ireland maybe, or England?
Several.
We've had staff from Ireland, England, Wales, Germany, Poland. Am I missing anybody?
Yeah, there's been a lot. I mean, I'm trying to think of where Rebecca was from, but
She was from Ireland, Northern Ireland.
So there's a really great camp resource called Camp America. And in my mind, the way that I understand it to be, it's almost like a foreign exchange student program, but for camps. And so they go through in their own country, they expressed interest in working in camps and specifically away from home. And then they go through background checks and they kind of write their own little bio, their interests. And as camp professionals, we can check that site for different individuals that meet the qualifications that Comeca would need. And so there are camps across the country, they're like, we're a soccer camp for college kids, or whatever. We're not a soccer camp for college kids, so we don't need them to know how to play soccer really well. But we do need them to know Jesus and be able to share the gospel. We do need both male and female, because we're not a specific gender camp. Like, we're able to have boys and girls come to our camp, and not every camp does that. And so we express our needs, they put out their profile, and we can view who links up with those qualifications. And through Camp America, it's been very cool, both serving them as young adults, exploring what the Lord has for them next. But also showing kids just this like wide open world that God has created, and they have brothers and sisters in Christ across the globe. I think it really is impactful that the kids who come to camp, they have counselors from Cozad and Gothenburg and Lexington, they have.
Well, I was gonna say,
Then they have
do
these
the
like,
kids from around here, is that a different process, or do they all have to go through Camp America?
everyone has to apply at Comeca and go through the same process for us. And then Camp America has an additional separate process that is prior to them applying through us. And so to get into their database, they've already gone through some sets of
Okay.
qualifications. And then when we start looking at them, they go through the entire hiring process, the application process, the interview process, the way that all the rest of our staff do. But just these spheres of like the local staff and then the like, kind of, I don't know, I think of like the Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, like
Yeah, so you do have people not only from out of the country, but all over the country.
all over, yeah. Our new program director, he's from Florida and arrived from Texas. Like, our guest experience director is from Indiana, and one of our culinary team is from Texas. Like, and then again, the Lord just like he speaks to all different people all the time, and so we wind up. I mean, last year we had some staff from Oklahoma and one that grew up in Hawaii. Like, they didn't land with us through Camp America. There were other sources of them finding Comeca.
And of course, tons of people from Dawson County.
Yeah, because they've grown up loving Comeca and they and they're almost like as a pay it forward, like give back. This is a place that touched me, and now I'm ready to go, like tell the next round of kids what a great God we have.
That's awesome.
It is cool.
So you have camp and you have all sorts of things going on all year. What's the next year gonna bring us?
Well, this next year
Or
is.
the next 5 years?
Yeah, the next year is, all about continuing the trajectory we're on. And one of the biggest difficulties with camp right now is that, and this is a problem with a lot of camps, because people like to donate and buy beds. And so we have 300 sleeping surfaces out at camp, but our dining hall hasn't really changed since 1950, and it can support 150 max. And our largest meeting room is very similar in size. And so running camp is very expensive. We're looking at, over $2,000 a day on a regular basis. And so to cover that, of course, we use our retreat ministry and the income from programs, programs never make money, which is not the goal.
I hear you.
Well, and in fact, our a slogan we have is that there's no reason that a kid can't come to camp, and that's especially money. And so if a kid can't come to camp, we say send them anyway. And my Mondays are calling churches and other communities where these kids are from and seeing if they'll support them. But even if they can't, we'll take care of it. And that's vital. But that means about 90% of my job is fundraising.
And you guys were part of Give Big Cozad,
Yes.
right? This
Yes.
fall, so
We're
that's.
grateful to be included and Give Big Flex and Give Big Gothenburg, because we do
Nice,
serve such a wide, audience.
Yeah, and so this next year is fixing that problem's the first one. We have improvement for our staff is growing so fast that they're getting slammed into, and we house most of our staff, and they're getting put into very inadequate housing. So fixing that, but the main thing on our agenda is really fixing the meeting space and dining hall. And so we're working with this organization called EMI. They're an engineering and architecture firm that does mission work. And so typically they're doing work in Pakistan, and they just got back from Uganda and all over the world. but they wanted to do stuff more in the United States. And through the grace of God, they're working with us. Of course, we still have to pay them a little bit, but we're paying them about 8% of what the normal cost would be. So before they really get started, I still have to go raise $20,000. So if anybody wants to donate $20,000 to get this off the ground, that'd be great. But the whole purpose of this is to create an environment where we can fit every type of group in, and we can serve every single group and do it relentlessly and show them the love of Christ like they don't experience anywhere else. We pride ourselves in creating a distraction-free environment. So whatever your mission is to come out, we support that by removing all the distractions. And along with this architecture plan, we're redeveloping our high roads course to have, we want to go to the national conferences and suggest things to people. And when we lived in Texas and California and worked at those camps, we would suggest things and people would go, yeah, but your camp is in Texas. You guys just do camp different. And our goal is to, along with all the other camps in our state, to go to those places and they go, yeah, but your camp's from Nebraska. You guys just do things different there.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. Your camps are amazing. How could we ever?
And
Wouldn't it be amazing?
And so we believe in camp ministry enough that we know that just making our camp, our goal for the next 5 years is to increase it by another 5,000 guests per year. Just doing that and squashing every other camp in the state will not do a service to the kingdom. And so we want to come alongside every existing camp and build something that is unbelievable.
So do you work with other camps? I know there's a camp.
Maranatha down the road. Yeah, we partner with Maranatha all the time.
And just like saying for the women's retreat last weekend or something, it was fun, but we're not linked. Like we used to have sister camps, right? So like all the Methodist camps are all under the same umbrella and have like meetings together, right? So we're not a sister camp to anyone. We just understand like they're reaching people and it matters that they reach them and grow in the same way that we do, the same way Maranatha and Timberlake and.
Well, I'm guessing it's also just good to have close mentors, if you will, just to have sounding boards.
It's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, ask anyone in nonprofit world. There's nobody to rub shoulders with when you're the director. And so finding other like-minded people is hugely important. Otherwise, I just dump all the problems on Amy, and that's not okay. I do that anyway.
That's good. We're in it together.
But having Barry down at Maranatha or Andy in Fremont, there's really good camps across the state, but the mentality for camp ministry is what it was back in 1960, where it was you go pitch a tent and unfortunately people don't want that anymore. They want rustic, but they want rustic with
The bed.
Plumbing.
well they want rustic like the log beams and having a beautiful granite countertops, but rustic. And that's where camp is headed, and good or bad about that, you're not going to attract people or you'll attract very few people, and typically all of them are probably Boy Scouts. and they do a good job.
Rustic.
With a real rustic and
Be prepared.
But but at the same time, there's an absolute need for that still. And so the camps that want to be grassroots, awesome. But we want to come alongside you in that. And that it's super exciting because there's not many occupations that you can walk in where the exact same business down the road is not your competition. Because we're all in it to grow the kingdom. Our missions may be a little bit different, but we're all in it together. And
So what's coming up in the next, well, let's just say through the end of this year?
Through the end of this year, we're gonna be, like I said, working with EMI. That's a big one on my plate. And then we have an organization that we're also gonna work with that is gonna help run our capital campaign for us called Vision Works. And
I'm guessing the goal is really more than 20,000.
yes.
Yeah. 20,000 is just for EMI.
20,000 is just to get it off the ground.
Okay.
It's gonna be much more, but we'll launch that all in the next 12 months and that'll be exciting. And the main things right now that our staff are thinking about are, summer, because summer goes crazy for us and we've built an incredible team where I can actually be out fundraising most of the time and know that camp is taken care of. We have a brand new program director, who Amy talked about, from Florida and Texas. And he actually, the last camp he worked at was the camp where Amy and I met in Texas. So it's such a place in our heart.
So be ready for like communities nearby. Kids will be getting flyers in their backpacks here in the next couple weeks. They'll be like pushing summer camp, summer camp, summer camp.
On social
like,
media.
Yes, and so signups for that will go crazy. The last 2 years, we've had wait lists on almost every camp, and so people need to be registering like now before the flyer goes out.
But that's good to know.
It's so good to know. So we've already contacted our like previous camper base and anybody that was on a wait list last year and just said, before we launch this to the school systems, like you need to know, be ready and get in. And so registrations are going well. Even just like very soon, I can't believe it's gonna be March this year instead of April, we always have a sunrise service for Easter. And so if you're looking for a place to celebrate Easter at 7:00 in the morning on Easter Sunday, we have a sunrise service.
Is it out at the chapel? Or
We
is
do
it
outdoors? Yes, we do it outdoors.
So it's out by
and
the cross?
Yes, so we'll have guest speaker, Pastor Belarmi Melosi will be out and we'll sing and then have a little breakfast after the service inside the dining hall. And so it's just like public knowledge. Like if you're,
Yeah, I
you've
didn't
been out
know
to
that.
camp forever and you're like, oh, I don't have a reason to go. There's always a reason to go. Come out and hike, come out and see us, come have a cup of coffee. But definitely Easter is on the books.
7:30, March 31st. And we do have breakfast afterwards.
Mhm.
And Kenny was talking about our culinary director, and I think he wants to do something really special. So
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what that means, but anytime he says that, he speaks to my belly.
So is that a free will offering then? Is there a
Yes.
cost?
Yeah, we'll just have a basket out and
If anyone feels led to give, they can, but there's not a cost.
yeah, but if you don't want to pay for your breakfast, you just want to enjoy it, eat,
Enjoy
you're
it.
fine.
If you wanna drop $20,000.
If you
You
want
know, it'll
to.
be right up in the middle EMI and you never know.
So that's camp, and then next year you're going into your 75th anniversary then.
Yes.
So do you have big things kind of planned for that? Can we
We've
know
been
about
talking
it?
about incorporating the 75th anniversary into the things we already do. And then like adding some special things. So some of the things we're not quite ready to release yet, but definitely you can expect, we were talking about the buffalo barbecue before the recording started, but the buffalo barbecue has been going on forever at Comeca.
But now it's
We call
called-
it the Comeca Cookout.
There you go.
Because we don't serve buffalo, we serve ribs and chicken and amazing food and we have bounce houses and music. And so looking into that on year 75 next year, there'll be this like special twist,
Yeah.
some extra stories, some extra like throwback and look back at the past and look forward to the future now that we'll have some exciting plans to share. So several of the things that we do, the golf tournament and the summer camps, there will be nods definitely to where we've been and then where we're headed.
So you do a golf tournament here in Cozad?
We
Do you also do one in Lexington and Gothenburg?
Just the Cozad
Just
Country
the
Club is
Cozad.
where we host ours, but we do have golfers from all over that join us for
And
it.
when is that gonna be this year?
It will be August 3rd, so the first Saturday in August And then the following Saturday would be the 10th, that'll be the cookout.
So your weekends are already taken care of in August, because you come to the golf tournament, then you come to the cookout, and then you have Living Out Loud in the next
Yep,
week.
Living Out
So
Loud's
it's
the last
perfect.
one.
And then you have a break, and then you have
Then you have-
paydays.
Yes,
Yeah.
days, exactly,
Then we're off into running again in the off season, so
yes.
the school season.
So, yeah,
So one thing that I didn't know that we talked about before recording was that you guys have a gift shop.
it's true, get all your Comeca gear. So,
Just another way to support.
I think,
Yeah.
I just think you go away and you have a fantastic experience somewhere, something that you want to remember. You go on vacation, I mean, you grab like a magnet or a postcard or something, you know, just something to mark that time, that space. And our summer camps, they all get a t-shirt when they come, and it's our theme shirt. But man, they want to take something home. So we've got little things that the kiddos grab, the flashlights and hats and t-shirts and stuffed animals, whatever. But then, of course, like we said, all year long, we're serving all demographics of people. So we've got this nice like sweatshirt that I'm wearing, or hats. A bunch of the men's groups, they all leave and they're like, you all have similar hats. I love it. So it is cool because it supports the camp and it helps us continue to grow, but it's really, it gives you a conversation starter. If you're wearing something from camp, you're displaying your love for the experience that you've had. And there are lots and lots of people that may have an experience similar to yours and be able to just strike a conversation because they've seen your shirt.
Now, you were talking about the ropes course that you're doing that. Can you talk about some things people might not know if they haven't been out to Camp Comeca for a while? Like, you have a hotel out there.
There is, yeah, so the three kind of like styles of lodging, like the most rustic is the bunkhouse, and then we have dorms, and then the Overlook Lodge, they're hotel rooms with private bathrooms, and it really is a great modern experience to be able to get away, experience nature. There's just, I think so many people drive along this area and they just experience the interstate and they forget to go even 3 minutes, 10 minutes off of the interstate. And it is beautiful how the land opens up. And so to be able to stay out there for an extended time over the course of a weekend or a week. The rooms are nice, but really being able to experience that nature, those like highlights, it's unlike a lot of
Yeah,
other
because you get the
experiences.
lake view,
Yeah, it's
the
not like you're
valley
going-
view.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to a hotel to stay in a hotel.
Right.
Like, it's the experience as a whole, but it is really nice to be able to offer a hotel room for that experience.
Yeah, we have the Wilson Center that is our indoor pool and gym.
The pool's back open. We did a little bit of maintenance work over the winter, so some people have been, like, when is it gonna open? So it's open, it's warm, it's great. And
Well, I
simple
think the swim team uses that facility in the winters.
exactly. So little facts, like, people may not know that the swim team is there on a weekly basis when they're practicing. And the same thing, like, kids' birthday parties, it's not our bread and butter, it's not the thing that we do all the time, it's not like we market it, almost like the weddings, but it exists. And man, if you've got a 7-year-old that has a birthday and it's the middle of winter and you wanna go swim in a heated pool, come on out, like, book it, and
When you have a rock wall in the center
Mhm.
too.
that's right.
Now, do you still have a zip line also?
We do have a zip line, and part of the plan is to get a new zip line, and
Our current zip line is amazing, but it's like
the throughput on our current zip line is, it takes 5 to 6 minutes per person. And so right now it's, for a group to come, they have to decide who gets to go on it, because we have designed with Adventure Experiences out of Texas, a zip line along with a whole ropes course that has a throughput of, I think, 300 people per hour. So it's not who gets to go, it's how many times the kids want to go.
The other thing that's so interesting, that's beautiful about Comeca prior to us coming, like the way that it was designed, it's a very accessible camp. It's so many things, especially when the Wilson Foundation was able to do things like the Overlook Lodge and the pool and the gym. Camp is very accessible, even with handicaps or like anything, like elderly, like it's so accessible.
So
But the
this
zip
new
lines,
zip
our
line-
current zip line is not accessible. It's not something that everybody can physically do. It's not something everyone can like mentally do. Zip lines are a challenge. It is a challenge. And it's a very cool challenge to overcome. But this zip line will give more, the new zip line would give more people the opportunity to experience the thrill without like limitations being in place.
And do you have, water access from the
We
camp?
do, yeah. So Midway Lake is what we see from our dining hall windows, from the cross on the hill, from the outdoor chapel. It's beautiful to look at, but just down a little path or a gravel road, we have access to the water where Comeca land touches Midway Lake. And so we're able to put in canoes and yeah, it's very fun. We'll do fishing once in a while down there too. There's lots of fish to catch, but mostly when I think of the Comeca Cove, that's what we call it, I think of the canoes because that's what our summer campers go down and, oh man, just try not to tip it. It's so fun.
It's surprising how many young kids have never swam in a lake before. You know, us growing up, we were always in the lake, and so it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Give them an experience that's very wholesome.
Yeah, we have a lot around the corner, but we are not the camp that it once was, you know, 40, 50 years ago. In the mid-90s, when the Wilsons donated a large chunk of money to change the camp, it changed the ministry. And now we've developed a program around these new facilities. And in the next couple of years, you're gonna start seeing the next phase of that, what that's gonna look like. So it's really exciting time to be here. Yeah.
You guys have a website.
Yeah.
Can you share that address?
It is, so www.comeca, COMECA.camp,
.camp.
CAMP, yep,
So will you be able to register from the website?
absolutely. Like right now, because registration is the thing that most everybody's logging on to do, front and center, our homepage, the first button, it says register for camp. But you can also explore and you can see, you know, what's the difference between, okay, my kid's a first grader. What's the difference between the young kid camp or the elementary camp? Because they could go to either one. What is the one night experience like? And what is the 2-night experience like? And it was fun. I was in the elementary school this morning working on a different project, not camp related. And in the hallway, second grade boy goes, 3 days and 2 nights, 3 days and 2 nights. And another mom was just like, what is he talking about? I said, he's signing up for camp. He can't wait. And so,
I'm sure you probably get it like that.
oh yeah, I totally
In the
get
grocery
it.
store, you're the library lady.
Yes,
You're the camp lady.
yes, very much. And I am happy to be the camp lady, but
Can't believe.
it's funny. I love that excitement that they have. So yeah, it's not hard to find. If they even Google Camp Comeca.
And you're on,
they'll find
I'm guessing you're on the socials.
Facebook
too?
and Instagram.
Yeah, log into our Facebook page. We put out something at least every day. And a lot of times it's just something that's motivational and uplifting and
Yeah,
can bring
shout out
you joy.
to Kinsey, our media coordinator right now. She has been doing a great job on our socials. So
So it's not just, pictures of camp or what's going on with camp.
She did
But
a
those
funny,
pictures
like,
are great,
crossword
too.
puzzle the
Yeah.
other day. She did all the clues of a crossword and then people had to comment and she would reveal the answers as they commented. I thought that was really cool.
And so, but yeah, with camp, we've had to waitlist campers the last 2 years in a row, and we're already up to about a third full. So if you want to get in, get
Now's the
in.
time.
Yeah.
It's good.
And our dream would be to just allow everybody in, but, we teach our staff that you can't have fun without being safe. And so part of safe fun is having the right numbers. And so,
Ratios of counselors to kids and making sure that everybody's got a sleeping surface that's meant to be a sleeping surface.
everybody's taken care of.
Yeah.
And so that's vitally important. And so we do unfortunately have to put a max, but we've reached the last couple of years. And if you have any counselors in mind that are young people that would be good counselors, send them our way, because
Yeah, like especially maybe kids who are interested in going into some type of education
absolutely.
Yeah.
or ministry themselves.
Absolutely. We just are, I believe that Joey is launching our counselor in training program, which is for the younger, it would be high school age students
16,
who
18.
would like to be a counselor but just are not 18 yet. And so one of the cool things is that it's not a full summer commitment. We know that high schoolers are very busy. They have a lot on their plate. And so they commit to either like a beginning chunk or an ending chunk of the summer. And then they're able to come to our high school camp as a perk of, kind of like they'll register, but they don't have to pay to come to high school camp because they have.
And then possibly in the future, they can
Exactly.
be a counselor.
Yes.
So you do have an age, you have to be 18 to be a counselor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's right.
We do have 2 days that aren't on our normal, well, they're on our normal schedule every year, but if you wanted to get to know our counselors,
Yeah.
let's find it.
Open camp day.
Yeah, open camp day, and then we also do a service day here in town with all of our staff, where, like last year we went
Oh,
and
last year you
cleaned-
were washing windows over
Yeah, we
Rustic and
cleaned
Red, because I
Rustic
said,
Red's
I need you to
windows.
come over to the
We
library.
usually pop over to the Henry and
We'll
do
do
some yard
some
work or something.
landscaping at the Henry and
We've-
Crazy Town Cookies, we've been there. We've
Uh-huh.
painted a wall for Juliet Prairie Point.
Yeah, so,
And we do a deep clean of the theater. And it's just, really, it's our way for the local community, because Cozad is so vitally important to Comeca, that they get to know all these people that we're bringing in from literally all over the world.
these new young staff members that are just showing up, it's during our staff training, that chunk of time that we call staff training, and we don't, we block out the schedule so that groups can't come. We need to train
Right?
before we're able to serve. And so during that chunk of time in mid to late May is when we'll have our service day. And then in that same chunk of time, towards the end of our training, that's when we have open camp day. It's over the weekend, usually like Memorial Day weekend. I'm trying to think of when that's gonna be. But
So open camp day is gonna be on the 26th of May. And then the service day, if you're just downtown, we'll be around all over. It'll be on the 24th.
so the 24th is the Friday of Memorial Weekend, and then the 26th is Sunday. So Memorial Weekend on Sunday, we just open up camp in every activity that we possibly can for a chunk of time and a free lunch. And it gives, specifically, our hope is that families that are like teetering on the fence of like, should we do camp this year? Are you old enough this year? Should we check it? I need to see it for myself before I'm willing to send my kid here. Like, we need to see it. It's open. Here it is. Let's try it out. Let's do the things. It's a family day. Families come together. So like guardians stick around. It's not like drop off your kiddo and come back in a few hours. It is come as a family enjoy hiking and swimming and canoeing and archery and all the things for as long as you want throughout the day, the afternoon, and get to know our team that has just been trained.
Do you have repeat counselors that come back?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's the best.
And then my question about that is when you have open camp.
Yeah.
What you said earlier about having wait lists, the open camp really probably wouldn't be for having camp that year.
Probably not.
It would be for the next
Yeah,
year.
if there was an opening, like, for instance, one of our junior high camps, didn't have a wait list this year, so they could have still at
Yeah.
that point. Our camps begin in July, and so to wait that long to register this year, it would for sure not guarantee a spot. But some of our camps may not be full at that point,
Okay.
it's a roll of the dice. But it's hard because I think word of mouth, like that little second grader, I don't know who was behind him in line, but he may have just been like, what are you even talking about? And then kids, man, they're quick to say when they love something. And so the buzz of Camp Comeca is
And one other thing I just thought of, is Comeca used to have this thriving family camp that was unbelievable. And by the time we arrived, it was a shell of what it once was. And so, sadly, we stopped it, we canceled it, and there are still families that would come every year that do a retreat that same weekend, but it's on their own but we're relaunching it. And
This year?
we're
This-
relaunching family camp this year.
and it's gonna be in the summer this year. That way we can have ample amount of staff. We have 2 speakers that we'll bring in that I won't say the names yet because they're pretty exciting. But one's from Kearney and one's from Florida. And those will be good. And we'll have speakers for every single one of our camp sessions. But I'm really, really excited about family camp this year, because we wanted to launch it last year, but I don't know if you remember, there's the fire out at Halsey. And so,
The 4-H camp.
Yeah,
That's at Halsey, and it's devastating.
and so we didn't, and in a few years before, they sold their East Camp in Gretna. And so 4-H had 0 camps in Nebraska, or 0 state camps.
Yeah.
And so we got a hold of them and said, we'll push back our family camp and open up that weekend so that you guys can use our site and have camp. That way, when you rebuild your facility, you don't have to start from square one. Because again, camp ministry is too important.
People who have been coming year after year after year after year, they look forward to it. And just because they don't have a location doesn't mean they shouldn't have camp.
And so 4-H is coming back again this year. Because I don't even know what the decision has been made on the hall. I should know that, but we're still blessing them, but we've also had a year so that we could make room for our family camp as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, it used to be like a Labor Day thing historically, and by that time our staff are back in college and we are back to our like year-round team. So this year instead, it'll be really close to the 4th of July, and so excited.
Do you guys do, I know you said retreats, but do you do confirmation retreats?
We do.
Yeah, it's true. So we don't do them for our programming. Like we don't bring in the speakers
Right.
and the bands and the
But you're a
things.
location.
But we are a location that several confirmation retreats come. Oh man, I can think of like 10 off the bat.
I grew up Lutheran, and I went to Comeca at Lutheran Confirmation Camp, which still comes the same few days at the end of May or early June. And
Was that your first experience with Comeca?
that was that was
seventh
actually
grade?
my only camp experience growing up.
Wow.
So what led you to being a camp director?
Well, we don't have time for my full testimony. That is a large part of it. I was a youth pastor at the time, and during summer we didn't do anything, and I needed an outlet. And I chose to go down to this camp down in Texas. Well, I didn't choose it. It was a calling down there, and then had a great time, but I figured it'd just be a one-time thing. And then when that staff came back to Nebraska to recruit the next summer, I was gonna help them, but the flood of emotion that came back that you can only experience with camp family, got me to come back another, and then probably June is when I felt my calling to lead the camp. And then that's when I made plans to end in January with the church I was with. And it was E-Free party, and they blessed me immensely with it. And that is the first time, not the last time, that I've cried on stage. And I feel like it's becoming more and more frequent.
So
you're a pastor, you're a pastor by trade.
I pastor people, but I wouldn't say I'm a pastor or minister. I don't deserve that title. But yeah,
And Amy, what's your background?
everything.
I went to camp as a kid, but it wasn't a Christian camp. I went to 4-H camp once. I would go to little retreats for like leadership things, kind of junior high age. So I loved the environment that camp was, but I was like, my faith journey and my camp journey just like compounded when I was in college. So I started walking with Jesus in high school, which was really amazing and saved me a lot of heartache in the middle of those like upper teen years. And I knew that I liked a camp environment. So then when I was in college, it just made sense. Somebody from Texas came and talked to our college class about this really cool camp in Texas. And I was like, that sounds cool.
That person was me. So she
I didn't know that.
She didn't remember me on stage. She remembered the person who also came to the camp that stood next to me and didn't say anything.
It's true. Kim was standing next to him, and I was like, I really respect Kim. She's great. And who's this guy talking? But I should probably check that camp out. And yeah, years later, I found out that it was
Yeah.
and I found them in Texas for the summer. Again, I'm just thinking, I need something to do with my summer. I'm gonna be done with college for a minute, and then we'll come right back, just in the summer. And I didn't know right after that summer that it was a calling, but it was pretty evident, probably 4 or 5 months after the summer had ended, that this was gonna be part of my life long-term. So I had changed my major to recreation management. I had changed kind of the course of everything, thinking, okay, maybe I will be a camp director someday. And then our relationship blossomed, and we started dating, and then it was like, oh, well, he's being called to be a camp director. And so it's really cool that our family was kind of led in that direction before we were even led to each other. And now we just get to enjoy it together. The different seasons of camp for me, it's awesome because in these 7 years, almost 8 that we've been here, we've also had 3 kids. And so there have been some seasons where I'm fully at home and I pop over to camp. And then there's been some where I'm half time working at camp or full time working at camp, or utilizing daycare in the area or family. Or it's just really cool. Each season has brought different challenges, but also different blessings.
Well, I think when we were talking about setting this up, you were like, well, my title this year.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes it's like at a time of need, like I call it a gap filler. Like, what is the gap and how can I help? But so much more than that, looking just like outwardly. I think that lately I've been led to really understand more of just the providence of God and the provision that He has over our lives. And every season is different, both in motherhood and in ministry and in marriage and just all of it. He knows what we need, and He typically leads us. He gives us a heads up beforehand, so it's tricky but it's important that we listen.
Well, I very much enjoyed having you today. Is there anything that I didn't let you talk about because I was asking you questions that you'd like to share? Or
That's so
Jose, do you have
grateful.
any questions?
I just have two questions, but the both of you can mention some other information that maybe you didn't get a chance to say
No,
yet.
you're good. She's gonna find Aspen, but yeah,
Okay.
whatever you got.
Okay, so you mentioned before Scott Foster has been helping you out a lot, and I've had the honor of interviewing him before. I work for the corporate.
He's pretty great, isn't he?
Yeah, I know he's a huge advocate for having really good daycare in the community, and from the sounds of it, he's an advocate for having good camps around the area. So can you kind of talk to me of how much of an influence he's been in this process for Comeca?
Well, he's been on our board for probably 14 months.
Okay.
And one thing about our board is that we ask a lot. And so he definitely steps up. And
So it's a working board.
yeah. And as our staff grows, it's becoming less of a working board. But it will probably always be a little bit. We have a great new board president, started in about at the same time Scott did. And
Who's all on your board?
well, we have Dan Launcer. He is a real estate entrepreneur who grew up in Kearney, but he has tons of camp experience. I actually tried to hire him several times, and then I finally realized that he's not going to come work at camp, even though he loves camp. And so it was about a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years ago, that I asked him to apply again. And when I realized that it wasn't going to happen, and I was painting the pool at the time, and so I'm standing in an empty pool bowl, and I go, instead of me being your boss, you want to come be mine? And that's how he got on. Then we have Tammy Paulson, who's been on since day one with Cozad Camping Ministry. She's our development chair, and she does amazing work especially with Amy, building our events. And then we have Ellen Mortensen is on, Ellen Cunningham from Lexington. We have Scott Foster, John Lillyman, who is one of the architects I'm meeting with here shortly. I would hate to do this exactly right now.
Is Chris on?
He is temporarily off the board.
Cool.
John Erickson, who's the new pastor. I think that's it.
So you have
Put me on
another
the spot.
question for them then?
Yeah, this is just from a personal standpoint. Amy already knows how much of an avid runner I am. I already signed up for that St. Patty's 5K. And during my 2 years of being a 5K runner, I've noticed that it's usually around the summertime that there aren't too many events in the Dawson. I know it's a great job of hosting a few, but overall within those 90 days, in my opinion, and the opinions of some of my friends, it'd be awesome to maybe have some more 5K events in the future around that summertime. Is that something that you'd be interested in doing when you talk to the Gothenburg Y possibly?
Anytime anyone wants to come run, we would love to have events like that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have an idea for you. If you're a runner, you know market to market in the Omaha area. What about camp to camp? And I measured out a path that would be almost identical to the market to market that goes from Maranatha to Comeca. I'll let you plan that. I don't have the time.
Okay.
I don't even know how to plan that.
All right. I mean,
Danny and I also love the ideas of like the tough butters and
Yeah,
like
we would
adventure
love to
race
do
things, and
stuff
so I don't know how we could incorporate like runs are one thing, and then the whole like challenge aspect is a different like
Yeah.
market of people.
Mhm.
But I think it's important that we just keep the door open and keep discussing, because there's definitely a market for, those types of events. And I'm glad to hear you kind of like speak out a season. Obviously, summer is, I'm just like, woo. But,
There she goes.
Yeah. summer's always busy, but why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't
You know, one thing you might think about, and this is kind of off, but check with like the Lexington cross-country team and see if they'd be willing to sponsor it as a fundraiser.
Oh, okay.
Or the
That's
Cozad
a
country.
Yeah. Lex does come out and they help us build some trails and stuff, and so.
Yeah.
But and their soccer team was supposed to come out last week, but they got snowed out. But
Well, thank you guys. It's just, our 1 hour is just right up, so.
Thank you so much
Well,
for
thank you so
having
much.
us.
And good luck to everybody, summer, and I can't wait to hear more. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Possibility.
We'll keep you in the loop, we'll be fun to share when you have the liberty to do so.
All right, next month, April 10th, I believe, is our next community chat, and Allison Donner Johnson will be here to talk about